On the morning of the 14th of July, 1789, the King of France, Louis XVI, in his beautiful palace of Versailles, just outside of Paris, would be feeling quite uncomfortable with the situation that is unravelling before him. He'd called all of the representatives of the people of France together in a group called the Estates General to Versailles to advise him and maybe grant him some money and taxes. But he'd lost control of the situation as they began to criticise his policies, his wife, the whole social setup in France of the three estates. So he'd closed the meeting down and locked the doors to the room, but the third estate decided to take themselves off to his tennis court in Versailles, and they swore an oath not to leave until they had sorted out the problems in France. They called themselves the National Assembly. In nearby Paris, when rumours began to go around about what was happening in Versailles and the tennis court oath, people began to demonstrate, riots began to happening because remember there's lots of unemployment in Paris, there's lots of food shortages, people are starving, and they become very, very agitated. So Louis decides to sort this problem out. He dismisses one of his advisors called Necker, Jacques Necker, who was quite a moderate man, and he replaces him with the Baron de Breteuil, who's a hardline militaristic man. And the Baron de Breteuil advises Louis to raise 30,000 soldiers to come and sort out the problems with the National Assembly and with the riots in Paris. When the people of Paris hear about this, they began to get more agitated. People like Desmoulins gives lots of rabble-rousing speeches. Pamphlets are being handed out all over the city about how terrible the king is. And so they begin to form themselves into militia, into armed groups. So this is the situation that Louis finds himself in the morning of the 14th of July 1789. And on that day, as the people of Paris look for weaponry to try and defend themselves against these rumoured 30,000 troops, as they try and find some weaponry to control the crowds, they try and find some weaponry to protect themselves, they start to attack lots of different royal buildings in the city. And rumours go round that in the massive fortress in the middle of Paris, a place called the Bastille, that the king's elite troops, the Swiss Guard, had taken huge amounts of gunpowder. Now the Bastille was a huge building. It was a symbol of the king's authority in Paris. It also was the place where he kept lots of the political prisoners, lots of people that criticised him. He locked up in the dungeons of the Bastille. So the people of Paris massed on the Bastille on the 14th of July 1789 to get this gunpowder, but there was a moat and the drawbridge was up and they couldn't get in. But one brave soul realised that if he climbed on top of the local perfume shop, jumped across the moat, grabbed hold of a chain, he could pull the drawbridge down, which he did, crushing a couple of people as he did it. But the crowd didn't care. They were fired up. They wanted this gunpowder. They wanted to release the prisoners. They stormed across the drawbridge into a second courtyard where there's another moat and another locked door. Then a chap called Maillard went to the local carpentry shop, got us the planks of wood, put one of the planks of wood across the moat and began to cross it. Now at this time the governor of the Bastille was becoming increasingly concerned, so he got his cannon on the ramparts and began firing at the crowd below. One of the Swiss guards lost his nerve as the crowd was getting more violent and more angry. He handed them the keys to the door and they opened the door and they burst in. An unemployed chef beheaded the governor, getting revenge for his use of cannon, and they went into the dungeons and they found just 7 prisoners, one of whom was so mad that he thought he was the ancient emperor, Julius Caesar. But they had the gunpowder and they also had lots of more pamphlets which they distributed around Paris about how bad the king was. But immediately this storming of the Bastille didn't have any immediate political or military impact at all. In fact, King Louis XVI in his diary at the end of the day famously wrote, rien, nothing happened that day. But in the days that followed, it became clear that the people of Paris now realised if they acted together, they could actually stand up to the might of the king. That actually, by working together, they could make sure that the National Assembly achieved its goals as well. So lots of the nobility in France realised this. and began to go over to the side of the National Assembly and the people of Paris. And eventually the king realised which way the tide was turning. So he got rid of the Baron de Breteuil, he reinstated Necker, he accepted that the National Assembly was now the representative body of the people of France, and he agreed that he would leave Versailles and go to his palace in Paris and work with the people of Paris to solve all of France's problems.